From our studios at the corner of 8th and Walton in Bentonville, Arkansas, welcome to Saturday Morning Meeting. Brought to you in part by Dun & Bradstreet Credibility Corporation, the leading provider of credit and credibility solutions for businesses. Saturday Morning Meeting covers Walmart, Sam's Club, and the consumer product companies that are represented on the racks and shelves throughout the country and around the world. I'm Derek Ridenouer, and our focus is on the insights, trends, and best practices to help you as a supplier grow your business with the world's largest retailer. Thank you for joining us, and coming up today I'll be talking with Ross Cully and Jeff Clapper about the results of the 2014 Vendor Survey. And Jeff Amerine from the University of Arkansas, as well as Ken Simpson of Clorox, will be here to discuss this week's top news stories. And now the headlines. Some changes are in store for Walmart's Canadian associates. CTV News reports that Walmart Canada adopted a new management structure that resulted in 750 layoffs, but 1,300 promotions and 200 new management roles. A spokesperson for Walmart Canada noted that the changes will increase the number of associates on duty during peak hours. Walmart's disappointing first quarter report doesn't scare investor Warren Buffett. MarketRealist.com reports that Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway recently increased its Walmart shares, which now encompass 4.19% of the holding company's portfolio. While some sustainability advocates welcome the news of Walmart's partnership with major CPG companies to establish the Closed-Loop Recycling Fund, The Guardian reports that not all analysts are impressed. Critics of the program argue that the money pledged to the fund is earmarked for loans, not grants, and that amount of money is insufficient for funding large-scale recycling projects. Retail Wire reports that more grocers, including Kroger, Publix, and Hy-Vee, are joining Walmart in testing smaller format stores, some as small as 7,000 square feet. Commenters on the Retail Wire article note that smaller format stores make sense in terms of efficiency as well as the ability to expand into college towns. NASDAQ.com reports that a recent Walmart store closure in China has resulted in a labor dispute with the city government. Store associates claim that they were not provided enough appropriate notice of the store closing and have requested double severance. Officials in charge have asked that Walmart settle the dispute outside of the court system. Not everyone is happy with Walmart Labs' recent tech acquisition. Business Insiders report that some AdChemy employees claim that the sale benefited 5 top executives but provided little or nothing to lower-ranking employees. The report states that common stockholders received nothing as a result of the sale, whereas preferred stockholders earned only pennies after Walmart took over. Retail Wire reports that some Walmart shareholders have concerns about Walmart's board of directors. Shareholder advisors Institutional Shareholder Services Incorporated and Glass Lewis & Company have both questioned some of Walmart's practices. In addition, labor activist group Our Walmart now urges shareholders to oust board chairman Rob Walton from his position. Check out Walmart and supplier news as it's reported at walmartnewsnow.com. And we're joined now by our panel, Jeff Amerine from the University of Arkansas and Ken Simpson from Clorox. Welcome, guys. We talked about in the headlines that not just Walmart is moving to smaller formats, but so is Publix, so is Hy-Vee. So a lot of these bigger retailers are now moving to smaller format stores. Ken, is Walmart kind of taking the lead on this, or are they kind of moving along with the tide, or are other people following them?
I think at this point you see some following. Well, I think Publix, that's a first store of this type that they're talking about opening. But you know, certainly Walmart has had the neighborhood market for a while. They didn't accelerate growth because they said they weren't making money on it, but now apparently they are because they're accelerating a lot. So no doubt this is a trend because the consumer shopping more and more in the small stores, and you're seeing it across many retailers.
Well, we're seeing dollar stores and Dollar General, they certainly are seeing some really strong growth. And I know Walmart has kind of struggled. How do you combat them when you've been targeting the big supercenters, the Targets, the major grocery chains? Jeff, how does Walmart continue to do this? And what concerns should they have about the other retailers moving into this?
Well, I think you see a general trend, right? Aldi, Trader Joe's, a lot of specialty stores have smaller footprint. I think in general, consumers want less aggravation. They don't want to spend their lifetime in a parking lot. They don't have to walk 100 yards to the store. These sorts of things, I think they have to do it to meet the competition. And they've got the leverage because of the supply chain to kill everyone else on pricing, you would think. So they may be able to do some things in this format that others couldn't.
Mm-hmm. I still think the biggest small format idea is actually this depot idea. Because the depot idea, you get away from just what you were saying. Sure. There's no store traffic.
Yep.
There's also not the parking lot to deal with, at least if they would do it the way they're doing it here in
and you're talking
Bentonville.
about the depot that Walmart has opened up in the Denver area where customers go online and order, and then they just drive through and pick it up. They're opening one here in Bentonville later this year.
Yes, I think that's really the wave of the future. You know, I heard on the radio this morning about how you can now get a hold of a person to watch your dog as opposed to taking them to somewhere, and it's much cheaper. You can establish a trust with it, and then the internet is opening up all these possibilities.
But are you surprised to see Walmart take so long to move to that depot idea of online ordering when they've had it, the click and pull at Sam's for a number of years now, and it has been very successful with them, where business owners can go in, put their membership, order everything, and they come in and they pick it up. Are you surprised it's taken Walmart so long to move to that model?
I'm not. I actually think it's a function of smartphone adoption as much as anything else. I think there's a recognition that smartphones are in nearly every hand, and you can imagine someone just about to get off work thinking, I need to pick up a half dozen items. I really don't want to run into the store. I'd like to just place my grocery list in, place the order, and zip by and get it. I think it's totally a function of them kind of being in line with the growth of technology.
Yeah, and I think you can say, yeah, they should move faster, but hey, their e-commerce sales were up 27% globally here over this last year. I mean, they're making progress.
Absolutely.
So as a supplier, what are some things that you would tell suppliers to do to get ready for the small format?
Well, I think you have to have the right assortment, the right items. That's the first thing. And from what I see and what I know, you're going to sell more smaller items than you're going to sell in the big format. And so smaller items, you got to have the right case pack, have the right item in those stores. It's not like you just put the same items necessarily from the super center into the small format, and you also have to look at the shelf allocation. You need more space on the smaller items.
I think you're also going to see an increased integration of social insights tools with point of sale information so that the brands know in real time what people are saying about these smaller footprints, what products they want delivered, etc. I don't think it's going to be focus groups in 6 months and typical agency type of work. I think more of the stuff's going to happen in real time.
Just online as people are looking and what are they ordering?
And what are they saying about it? What are they saying about it? What are they commenting about the brands? You know, why wasn't that particular brand available at the convenience store? It should have been. You know, I think you're going to see more and more integration between those systems.
And Walmart certainly has proven that they can change quickly. The question I think becomes, what about these other retailers as Publix now gets into it? You know, Hy-Vee has had a strong relationship with Casey General Store. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to manage that and if they can be as reactive as Walmart has been. But as a supplier, obviously, if you play in all of those, you're going to have a consistent strategy.
Yeah, and maybe one other point to make here too is that you see this going on right now with Neighborhood Market, where the supplier, if they don't have a separate team to work, because they have separate buyers.
Sure.
If you don't have a separate team, you at least have a sub team that's focusing separately, because it's a different needs, different opportunities. You can't just say, hey, here's my program for Supercenter, and it's the same for Neighborhood Market, and same for the small store.
Your expectations are going to be different for given those stores.
Yes, so for a supplier point of view, you need to have also a separate focus.
Just like you do on Sam's Club and the Club channel.
Yes.
Have one for smaller formats, particularly the to-go and express. I want to move on to something else that came up this week. AdChemy was acquired by Walmart Labs earlier this year. That's left some bitter taste in some of the people's mouths. And Jeff, I know this is kind of dear to your heart.
Sure.
They're not happy that Walmart acquired them.
Well, it's interesting. I think there was a couple of things going on there. One, this is a venture-backed company. This is also a company that has strategic investment from some of the larger players in the neighborhood of a couple $100 million. If you look at the details there was a number of pivots or changes in direction of the company. My sense is that the founders are not real happy either, because those founders didn't get involved for a $1.5 or $2 million payout. Right. They were looking to be, big time, say either IPO or a larger acquisition. This was a fire sale purchase on the part of Walmart to get some talent that they have difficulty getting otherwise. And the interesting thing will be how long are they able to lock those folks up. But as they begin to build digital presence, they got to find talent any way they can. It's either through growing their own or acquisition, and sometimes the quicker way is acquisition, particularly in Silicon Valley.
Because there's a lot of intellectual property that you acquired during that time.
Yeah, it's intellectual property, and it's just the intellectual property that's between people's ears that are in the digital space that they might otherwise have difficulty getting through just trying to hire them outright. And the trick is how do you keep the great people locked up for a significant period of time so you can really get the value.
And some of these people who are not happy are the ones who invested large amounts of money into common stock, which during the acquisition became null and void, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that was an age-old problem in Silicon Valley where you'd get stock options that would vest over a period of time, and if there wasn't an acceleration trigger, you'd get cheated out of 3 years worth of stock. In this case, it was just purchased for a value lower than what they paid, and that happens.
And the founders could have always said no.
That's life in the venture world. They probably found the best deal they could find to salvage value from the company. Happens.
Right. Guys, thank you very much. Stay tuned, because when we come back, we are going to sit down with Ross Cully and with Jeff Clapper and talk about a supplier survey. All coming up. The Saturday morning meeting continues.
Discover our revolutionary lotion-infused body wash, New Dial Vitamin Boost. And wrap your skin in nourishing softness. For healthy, soft skin, people will notice. Dial. Healthier skin, healthier you.
GigWalk is an on-demand mobile workforce that can collect data and do work at retail. Businesses use GigWalk for retail audits, merchandising, and much more. With 350,000 smartphone-enabled workers available on demand, you get unprecedented speed and coverage across the US, Canada, and the UK. And all work is reviewed for quality and accuracy. Visit gigwalk.com to learn more.
Every day, shoppers are bombarded with traditional brand messages outside the store in hopes that these marketing dollars will drive in-store sales. Closure Media drives retail sales by connecting brands with 95 million Walmart shoppers per year while they are in the store. Through innovative programs at Walmart's photo and money centers, Closure Media converts Walmart shoppers to purchasers of your brand. With reported redemption rates up to 7 times the national FSI average, Closure Media drives sales. For more info, visit us at closuremedia.com.
Bentonville Plaza, across the street from the Walmart home office, the best office location for businesses working with the world's largest retailer. Bentonville Plaza offers proximity and services like no other business complex in the area, including custom designed suites and an on-site fitness center and restaurant. Pre-leasing opportunities are currently available for new construction. Call 479-200-1112 today. K-Stack, the leader in collaborative retail consolidation programs. We offer the supply chain expertise needed to navigate the challenges of selling products with the world's largest retailers. And we provide customers with a customizable, scalable, environmentally sustainable supply chain with the same advanced technology typically used by larger rivals. By leveling the playing field, K-Stack lowers distribution costs and increases overall margins. K-Stack, retail logistics is what we do.
Don't deal with embarrassing antiperspirant residue. Choose Right Guard Extreme Clear. Its revolutionary formula combines powerful stain-fighting technology with extra effective wetness protection. The choice is clear. Right Guard for the win. Try the power of the world's first clinical clear. Also try Extreme Fresh, winner of Product of the Year.
And welcome back to Saturday Morning Meeting. We're joined now with Jeff Clapper of 8th and Walton and Ross Culler from the Harvest Group. Welcome, guys. You guys just completed a big survey, a supplier survey that went out really around the world for Walmart suppliers. First question is, why did you guys do this survey? Jeff, I'll come to you first.
Sure. Well, I mean, Ross and I have been talking about just hearing the voice of the supplier community. We both have relationships and connections throughout the Walmart community, and we just felt like there was a lot of room to understand that voice more thoroughly and better. And so we just got together and said, this makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you had any additional color to that, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique community here, unique ecosystem of companies, and we wanted to study that in a way that we both felt like demonstrated excellence and really provided a benchmarking mechanism for the supplier community.
So what were some of the key findings that you got out of this survey?
You know, one of the big ones was there's that question of local presence, whether you have an office here or you have an agency that works for you here. And one of the key learnings was we found that there was really 2 times the chance that someone understood and was aligned to Walmart's priorities if they were here, if they had a local presence here. And that's always been one of the debates in this community is do you have a local presence? And we found that it does make a big difference.
And one of the things about local presence would kind of point out here, it doesn't mean that you have a physical office here where you rent space. It could be somebody working out of their house. There are about 500 companies I know that have people working out of their house. I happen to be one of those, the office out of my house. So it's interesting that 2 times that they understand it much better having been here. I'm not surprised by that.
If I can just jump in also, I mean, some of the key reasons that companies say they have an office, faster response from Walmart, makes a statement about my company and our investment in the relationship with Walmart. These are probably more obvious findings, but in contrast, some responses who don't have an office here, they say, why haven't we? Well, we think we can manage the business remotely from a corporate location. We don't get enough meetings, and that point kind of stuck out because we thought let's become sort of self-fulfilling.
Right.
You don't have an office here, you don't get the connection, you don't get as many meetings, and so it's sort of there's a little bit of a catch.
Well, it is, as somebody who calls on Walmart and Sam's Club, it's much easier when you can pick the phone up and call a buyer and say, look, I can be there in 10 minutes.
Right.
And they can easily squeeze you in, whereas if they're going to make you buy a plane ticket, $1,000, $1,500 plane ticket to come in, as a buyer, I'm apprehensive to do that because you're adding cost.
Everybody thinks twice.
Yeah, it was one of the more clear-cut findings for sure that folks here believe there's a value to having a presence here, and folks not here admit they lose something.
You asked some of the respondents what advice they would give to Walmart. What are some key findings that you came up with?
We can kind of get through these quickly. I don't know that any of us would find these shocking, but it doesn't hurt. Some of these newer, some of these standard, but less buyer turnover, better buyer transitions, more access to the buyer, more timely response. You're nodding as
well,
if...
it's not surprising, and having been at Walmart and understanding that a buyer there gets anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 emails a week.
Amazing.
Many of us on supplier side, I mean, I don't get that many in a year, to be honest with you. And so it's very, very difficult to respond to that. I hear it because I have the same problems. I have the same frustrations. I email the buyer, call the buyer. So none of this is surprising.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ross, if you'd like.
Yeah, I think these next 2 are interesting, which is kind of around store operations. And so on one side of the coin, we got comments like this, where Walmart needs to focus more on the store level and their operations. And then on the other side of the coin, we got this response, which was interesting, just saying that maybe it has less to do with operations and more has to do with headquarters pushing inventory. And so I think both those comments address OSA, and having the stores execute well at the store level. We got a lot of comments around feeling like Walmart's lost their mojo around risk-taking, something that was core to Mr. Sam and his 10 rules of doing business, and so a desire for that.
Well, but is there safety in that? Because if I'm a buyer and I need to at least maintain my category, I may not be willing to take a risk on something that's unproven, that doesn't have IRI data, doesn't have good distribution, doesn't have maybe the capacity. I mean, I've seen suppliers who have 1 or 2 items in Walmart, but they don't have the marketing resources, they don't have the capacity, and so if they went bigger, they would fold.
Yeah, and I think you hear the message from leadership, particularly as Doug McMillan's come in, and he's pushing buyers to take risks. And so I think there's a resurgence of that the supplier community will enjoy.
The classic quote, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one was just the idea that the supplier community has value to add to Walmart, and there's a desire to partner and contribute. And again, I think that's a message that the new leadership with Doug coming in is pushing that is going to be welcomed by the supplier community.
Do you think that comes more from a smaller supplier? And having been being a small supplier, obviously I'm not going to get the top level like the Unilevers and the P&Gs would. Do you think that could be some of it? I
do, for sure. There's a breadth of the respondents and what the kind of companies that they represented. About 2/3 were outside of this community. About 2/3 were $50 million or less of business, and so could definitely have come from that subsegment of suppliers.
All right. I'm talking with Jeff Clapper and Ross Culler from the Harvest Group. We're going to take a break. Saturday morning meeting will continue right after this.
Trying to get your product noticed by retailers and customers? Rapid Prototypes in Bentonville can help with packaging, displays, renderings, signage, and much more. They are called Rapid Prototypes for a reason. Rapid turnaround and rapid response time to your needs. Need 2-week turnaround? Easy. Need 2-day turnaround? No problem. Need 2-minute turnaround? Let's talk. At Rapid Prototypes, we're always willing to go the extra mile for you. Rapid Prototypes, across from Gasano's Pizza on Walton Boulevard in Bentonville. Call 479-273-3278.
Imagine what it would be like if you knew the weather up to a year in advance. What would you do differently? for your business or your life. At Weather Trends, we don't imagine it, we do it. We're a team of meteorologists, mathematicians, and business weather advisors, and we've spent the last 20 years developing a new way to forecast months in advance. We've been studying weather's effect on product sales based on every 1 degree change in temperature. We can now take your sales data and show you exactly how the weather impacts your business down to a single degree. We're leading the way into a new era in forecasting and a new power in business decisions. And we invite you to join us. Welcome to Weather Trends.
After a long day of doing man stuff, me and the fellas trust new Dial for Men power scrub to give us a clean we can be proud of. Over-engineered with unstoppable orange oil and micro scrubbers. Unstoppable! It leaves us honkingly gorgeous.
Dial for Men, proudly over-engineered.
And welcome back to Saturday Morning Meeting. We're talking with Jeff Clapper from 8th and Walton and Ross Culler from the Harvest Group. And we're talking about the survey that you guys did earlier this year. One of the surprising things, I guess kind of surprising, is the number of third-party companies that suppliers are using. And Jeff, I know you said, as we were talking, getting ready for this, that you thought it would be higher than that. Sure.
Well, you know, when we go take a look at this slide, you'll see there are a lot of buckets that you could say these are all third-party companies, and I think once I saw such an all-encompassing definition, I just figured someone is working with some third-party company on some level. So, you know, we heard from almost half the companies said yes, we work with a third-party service provider of some kind, and I figured that would be higher just by the broadness of the definition.
Yeah, I mean, the two sides of the coin, right? So there's about half the suppliers that are working with companies that help either bring a core competency that they don't have, or they've made a strategic resourcing decision to outsource that. And about half the companies aren't working with anyone.
And you think that's because, as you said in the last segment, about 2/3 of these companies are 50 million or less. So you think it's a perception that I just don't have the resources to invest in a third party? And I'm sure the counter is, you're never going to get it if you don't invest in a third party to help you with some of the things that we're talking about.
Yeah, it is. There's a tension there, right, from resources, and will those resources deliver an ROI, which is one of the questions we asked. As you look at the slide, you know, these are ranked by the respondents' perception of which services provide an ROI. You know, POP design, point of purchase design, is a great one. Obviously a great ROI to design a display because you're going to need to ship product. Some of the others that you might not think are top ROI are, you know, somebody that outsources their headquarters sales, someone that hires a company to actually analyze their POS analytics, different from a lot of the companies in the area that have software that organize your retail ink, and then training and prototyping. And what's interesting is that ranking is very different from the frequency of use of the number of companies that are using them.
Do you think that because historically Walmart has said, don't use third party, come to us, we want the lowest cost, and we'll take care of all of this. As we've seen, being a supplier, that doesn't always happen. There continue to be store execution issues. But do you think that there's still a fear from some of the smaller companies that I've got to give Walmart the best cost, even if it costs me the third party? I have to rule those out. The problem is that I see is you get into a spiral, because if you don't execute at store level, you don't have OSA, you're not going to be on the shelves very much longer. Jeff?
What's interesting in the results here is the disparity between where people are seeing, you know, great ROI and where they're actually putting their money. It looks like there are some gaps. You know, I don't know, you might articulate that differently.
Yeah, and I think a point to be made on that is companies, particularly that aren't in this area, need to know their competitors are making that investment, and many times a larger investment by having an office here and having these resources.
Right.
And so a way for them to supplement their expertise at their small size, for some of them, is to hire a third party. And certainly, you know, Jeff and I are both in the third party business. You have to deliver an ROI for those companies, or it doesn't make sense for them or Walmart.
And one of the other gains you get, and you know, again, I don't want to make this a pitch about what all of these third party service companies are in, but if you're a small supplier and you've tried all of the tactics in your playbook, I know we're going to get into this in a couple minutes, but at some point it might help to turn to someone who's got a more pooled knowledge base and you know, experience.
Well, let's talk about the playbook. and how that has changed, because you found some interesting results as you went through this. Ross, I'll let you kind of jump into some of those.
Yeah, we asked about 2014, what's the outlook? And suppliers are optimistic about that outlook. That was the key, which is interesting. A couple weeks ago, Walmart released quarterly results. Revenue was only up 2%, comp sales was down 0.2%. What was interesting, below these results, we asked, what tactics are you going to employ to deliver them? And it was kind of the same old things that you hear in our industry. We're going to grow store count of existing items. We're going to release a line extension. And so what was disappointing, for me, was to see the tactics are kind of the same for a lot of these companies, and maybe a little bit naive on the results they expect to get from them.
Okay. Yeah. So some key takeaways?
Sure. If we were to boil this down, these are some of our favorite points to take away, and probably the most significant to us. Being here produces results here in Northwest Arkansas. Complement your expertise with the right third-party offerings. I mean, again, this wasn't designed to say that, but there are a lot of great companies in all kinds of spaces that are clearly delivering an ROI to suppliers. And then lastly, and this is where Ross just left off, but develop solutions that build your partnership with Walmart.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Stick around. Saturday morning meeting will conclude right after this.
Experience the ultra hydration of coconut water and wrap your skin in hydration with Dial Coconut Water Body Wash. For incredibly hydrated skin, people will notice. Winner of 2014 Product of the Year.
8th and Walton, the premier destination for Walmart supplier education. When and where you want to learn. Current, accurate, relevant, taught by suppliers, for suppliers. 8th and Walton.
Are you a single parent struggling to meet your family's needs? Single Parent Scholarship Fund is here to help. Single Parent Scholarship Fund of Northwest Arkansas helps hundreds of single parents get an education. By providing scholarships and support, a brighter future is right around the corner for you and your family.
We should know, in 2007, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in organizational management. Single Parent Scholarship Fund helped make my dream a reality. My kids are so proud of me, and now they declare themselves as college-bound.
And joining us today for Retail Insights from Movisa is Stan Zylowski, is the president and co-founder. Stan, there's a lot of information out there about technology and how it's changing retail.
Yeah, that's right. What we're seeing is a massive sea change towards mobility. Actually, we're seeing that across enterprise, and it's starting to infiltrate retail pretty heavily, with whether it be tablets or phones. In general, any smart device is starting to be utilized a lot more at retail.
So Lowe's has a lot of these, Home Depot has a lot of these. They seem to be the forerunners of this, right?
Yeah, I think you really point at Lowe's as the first innovator in this space, right? They went away from the MC50s and the Telzon technology and to something that had a lot more capabilities early on. So if you go into a Lowe's, you're going to see those associates using one. If you go into an Apple store, you're clearly going to see one there. We're still not seeing a whole lot of that on the floor of a retail environment in mass. However, Meijer has a whole program that they use our software on the floor of those stores, and we're starting to see that edge into the Walmart world a little bit.
So what are some of the benefits? Why should Walmart, for example, roll these devices out?
Well, every company in business wants to do two things, right? They want to get more done than they used to do with the same amount of money, and that's the GPS technology, the verification technology, the scheduling, all the cool bells and whistles on the HR side. That's a good way to sell it internally, right? If I'm trying to sell this program. But what's really more important is, how do I sell more stuff, right? How do I represent my brand better? And you really can't take a product like a tablet and not see very quickly the benefits of that product, because, yeah, you know what, I'm here, I got a list of things I need to do, etc. But what's more important is when I'm executing a demo or executing a sampling event, I can turn that device around, I can capture your email, I can show you my messaging like a commercial in a clear, consistent way. So it's really the best of both worlds. I'm getting more done, I'm selling more stuff.
And for more information?
Contact us, www.mbretail.com or movista.com. We'd be happy to help you if you're trying to roll out mobility.
Our thanks to Ross Cully and Jeff Clapper, as well as today's panelists. And as always, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. If you have questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. And be sure to join us next week as we begin a two-part series on millennials, America's most diverse generation ever. Our featured guests will be Bill Sussman of Collective Bias, Denise Letition of CSA and Associates, and Fernando Salido of IRI International. They'll share their knowledge and insight on the 80 million people, now 18 to 32-year-olds, the millennials. I'm Derek Ridenouer, and from all of us at Saturday Morning Meeting, thanks for watching, and please join us next Saturday morning.